2024 was a wild year filled with Brawler apocalypses, game-changing reworks, and even temporary Brawlers taking over. But the question I want answered is, who was the best? I released a poll on Twitter and my YouTube community page for players of all levels to answer. I compiled all the responses and weeded out all the spam answers. Good try, you Triple Edgar enthusiasts. And gave out 3 points for a first place vote, 2 for second place, and 1 for a third place vote. Starting us out at number 10 with 24 points was Clancy. The Lobster was added in the game in late July and took the world by storm with his heavy hitting damage. His tier 3 stage was difficult to deal with when he was first released, but it's safe to say he was not the strongest for the entire year. Number 9 at 25 points was Stu. Stu has been a higher skill ceiling brawler in the past, and the addition of his hypercharge elevated him towards the end of the year. This was enough for the community to throw the stuntman a few votes. At number 8 and 47 points was longtime brawler Frank. The big man went from being one of the absolute worst brawlers to one of the best, which was entirely due to his rework. In the BSC and Pro Play, he went from being an unpicked brawler to a very prevalent one in the meta. He wasn't quite a top 25 picked or banned brawler for the year at Pro Play, but hey, he had nearly a 55% win rate and skyrocketed up from previous years. That's still impressive and makes my heart happy as a Frank fan. Number 7 was Mo, who drove some people crazy when he was initially released. I'm people. That guy drove me crazy. Mo initially did high damage and was able to cycle his supers frequently. His shot was difficult to dodge since it felt like a better version of Spike's, and his mobility and engagements up close with players made him a strong overall brawler. When he was at the top of the meta and also eligible at Pro Play, he was banned pretty much every time, but of his 8 starts in the BSC, he won 62.5%, which is pretty darn high. If he remained this powerful for longer, I think he would have been even higher on this list. Number 6 is Surge, a massive fan favorite. Surge was towards the top for a lot of the year, but when they added his hypercharge in late August, it took him up another notch. The hypercharge granted him extra stats and granted him stage 5, which covered a massive distance. Surge was inside the top 20 for both picks and bans in the BSC with a 53.42% win rate. All in all, this feels right for Surge. He wasn't too overpowered, but was definitely a big part of the year. Starting our top 5 is Kit with 66 points. Kit had few first place votes, but a good handful of second and third to give this fierce feline enough of a boost to crack the people's top 5. Kit became available to all players in early January, meaning he was eligible for the entire BSC year, where he was banned 6th most in the world. However, his win percentage was not great at just under 39%. Especially in a draft setting, Kit can be pretty pesky in the right hands, but requires the right situation, and clearly at a pro level couldn't shine as much as we would have liked to see. While he was a notable addition to the game this year, and a major part of it, he's not quite as impactful as the next 4 brawlers. Now we make a big jump to 4th and 3rd place, who are only separated by 1 point. Number 4 on the list is Angelo. Angelo was, and honestly still is, very well-rounded. He's a sharpshooter that floats over water, is quick, does high damage, and has a powerful kit between his super and gadgets. At a casual level, he was fierce, but at a professional level, he was something special. Angelo has been available to all players since March, so for most of the year, he was eligible in the BSC. He was only 20th in number of picks, but that's because of the fear he instilled into the world's best. Angelo was banned 330 times this year. For context, that's 100 more than second place, which was Melody. Angelo also had just shy of a 55% win rate, which makes his professional resume extremely impressive. While he was 4th in the People's Choice, if it was up to me, he'd have my 2nd place vote. Angelo was very strong upon release, has been strong all year long, and pro players showed that he is one of the deadliest brawlers in the game. Before we dive into the top 3 for the community, I wanted to show you guys how pro players felt in 2024. Remember, they have a set map pool and draft setting, so it's different, but I know there's a ton of you all who love seeing the contrast in pro style. So here's the pro player breakdown for 2024. Like I mentioned, Angelo was by far the most banned, but Melody was 2nd at 230 bans globally and way ahead of the next group of banned brawlers. Melody's mobility is a pro player's dream. When she became eligible for the BSC, pro players took advantage of her super that sent her across the map for modes like Brawl Ball and Heist. This was even before she got her hypercharge. In players like Shatapo's hands, the sky's the limit. For picks, I think the community would be surprised to see that Max was number 1 at 159. While she's not OP, the introduction of her hypercharge made her valuable for pro players. She's consistently a great support option by dishing out speed to teammates, but her hypercharge's ability to also charge teammates' supers made her the biggest staple in professional play. Meg was close behind Max with 144 selections. Meg got reworked this year, but pro players loved her, especially for modes like Knockout, where she essentially had to be taken down twice. Her firepower and home run hitting super made her suppressive and frustrating to deal with for enemy teams. And finally, to round out this cluster of top 5 in picks for the year in the BSC were Charlie, Byron, and Belle, who were all extremely close to each other. Charlie fell off at the beginning of the year due to her severe series of nerfs, but Belle and Byron are applicable to so many different maps and modes. It's hard to go too wrong with either of them which is why they were picked so frequently this year. Now for our top 3. With a bronze finish and just 1 point ahead of 4th place Angelo, we have Kenji. Kenji's release in late September was wild. I knew from the get-go of my Kenji mastery push that the way Kenji was built would take some serious nerfs, which he eventually got. Between his damage, super, and insane gadget of heals, it was so difficult to bring him down. Kenji was amazing in both ladder and pro play. At the World Finals, he was second in both bans and picks. This was after his healing gadget got a 25% nerf, meaning this wasn't even peak Kenji. Because of the short amount of time and towards the end of the year, he didn't quite make my top 3 for 2024, but I definitely think he's in the mix and deserves a lot of votes. Second place is a little surprising considering it's not even a full-time brawler. Buzz Lightyear took the podium with a silver medal and 139 of the people's points. I guess the recency in him being a free brawler was enough to put him towards the top, which is fair considering Laser and Saber Buzz were gnarly upon release. From personal experience, getting him to 1,000 trophies 3 different times on his day 1 release, I think he was one of the easier brawlers to push for the year. For my personal voting, he only had a short amount of time in 2024, but it was an impactful one. His Apocalypse was very memorable, and he was a very powerful 3-for-1 brawler. Because of all of this, he's getting my 3rd place vote and the 2nd place overall for the people. Now for the people's #1 choice. I expected this brawler to win, but I did not expect it to be such a blowout. The people's #1 brawler of 2024, none other than Hank. Nah, I'm just playing, but you Hank loyalists for real got him all the way up to 11th on this list. Y'all are crazy for that. In 1st place with 316 points, over double 2nd place, none other than Larry and Lori. I 100% get this. One of the most memorable time periods in Brawl Stars in 2024 had to be the Larry and Lori Apocalypse. As powerful epic brawlers, so much of the player base unlocked them and pushed them to the point where lobbies were filled with Brawl Stars security guards. They're still great brawlers, but if you play during this time of the year, you will have a distinct memory of how difficult ladder could be at the upper tiers. Larry and Lori were so dominant that they were voted #1 by over 1/3 of you folks at home, which is a testimony to how strong they've been this year. He's unquestionably my #1 for 2024 as well, and wraps up our top 10 of the People's Choice Awards for 2024. Thank you all so much for watching, no matter how much it was in 2024. It means a lot to me, and if you find yourself coming back on the regular, I would really appreciate it if you dropped a sub to the channel. With that being said, Happy New Year, and we'll see you all in 2025.